Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As the insistent rapping roused him from his slumber, Aaron grunted from beneath tangled sheets, the room illuminated by rays of morning light that pierced through the slits in his blinds. "Come in," he muttered indistinctly. Emily stormed into the room with a garment bag in one hand and a cardboard cup in the other. "Hey there, sleepyhead! It's time to rise and shine! Unless, of course, you prefer basking in the afternoon sun." Aaron, sitting up and adjusting his mussed-up hair and t-shirt from the day before, glanced at his sister in annoyance. "Emily, it's Saturday. Some have the privilege of embracing the morning tranquility." "Aaron, it's pushing midday. Besides, I brought peace offerings." She placed the coffee on the nightstand and hung the garment bag on the closet door hook. "And I need a favor." The aroma of fresh coffee coaxed Aaron fully awake. Taking a long sip, he eyed his sister suspiciously. Emily never brought coffee without wanting something. The siblings shared the same dark auburn hair, though hers cascaded in perfect waves while his was cut short and practical. They had the same hazel eyes, too, but she had mastered using them to get what she wanted. "What kind of favor requires a bribe?" Aaron asked, stretching his lanky frame. Emily perched on the edge of the bed. "So, my 10-year college reunion is next weekend. And I need a +1. Aaron groaned. I'm not pretending to be your boyfriend again. Last time was weird enough with your coworkers." No, nothing like that." She hesitated, a mischievous smile forming. "I need you to come as my friend, Meredith." Coffee sputtered from Aaron's mouth. "You want me to what?" Emily's explanation tumbled out rapidly. "Remember Vanessa Campbell? That horrible girl who made fun of me freshman year when I couldn't afford designer clothes? She's going to be there with her investment banker husband, and She paused. "I may have mentioned having a sophisticated friend named Meredith who works in publishing. And instead of admitting you lied, you want me to wear a dress? Think of it as an adventure. You've always been good at impressions. Remember how you used to make Mom laugh with your Julia Child voice?" Aaron set down his coffee cup. "There's a slight difference between doing a voice and showing up to your college reunion in drag, Em. It's just for one night, 4 hours max." Emily unzipped the garment bag, revealing a navy blue sheath dress. "I already have everything we need. Dress, shoes, wig. My friend Tessa does makeup for film shoots. She'll help transform you." "This is insane!" "Please, I'll owe you for life." Emily clasped her hands together. "It would mean so much to me." Aaron studied his sister's pleading expression. They'd always been close, especially after their parents' divorce left them relying on each other through the turbulent teenage years. Emily had worked 3 jobs to put herself through college, while Aaron was still in high school. 4 hours. That's it," Aaron conceded with a sigh. "And you're buying me dinner for a month." Emily squealed, throwing her arms around him. "You won't regret this. You'll make a gorgeous woman." Yeah. "When is this disaster scheduled?" "Next Saturday. We'll start getting you ready around 4. Aaron stared at the navy dress, swaying slightly on its hanger. "The things I do for you." The transformation began precisely at 4 o'clock the following Saturday. Emily's apartment had been converted into an impromptu salon, with makeup spread across the dining table and the bathroom counter lined with unfamiliar bottles and tools. Tessa, a petite woman with electric blue hair, circled Aaron like a sculptor examining a block of marble. "Good bone structure. Nice full lips. We can work with this." Aaron sat rigidly in the dining chair. Should I be flattered or concerned? Both, Tessa replied, tilting his chin upward. First, we need to shave. Like, really shave. An hour later, Aaron's face felt unnaturally smooth, and Tessa was applying something called foundation. Close your eyes, she instructed, wielding a brush. Emily, hand me the contour palette. Aaron kept his eyes closed as unfamiliar sensations played across his face. Cool creams, soft brushes, powder settling on his skin. The subtle scent of cosmetics filled his nostrils. Now for the eyes. Keep still. He felt the gentle pull of eyeliner and the tickle of mascara on lashes he didn't realize he had. Emily gasped somewhere to his right. Oh my God, Tessa! You're a miracle worker! Don't move your lips, Tessa commanded as she applied something waxy. Perfect. Now the wig. Aaron felt something settle onto his head, followed by the sensation of pins securing it in place. Fingers adjusted strands around his face. Can I look now? He asked, voice tight with anxiety. Almost. Let's get you dressed first. The next 20 minutes were a blur of unfamiliar clothing articles. Silky undergarments, padding in strategic places, pantyhose that seemed determined to tear, and finally, the navy sheath dress zipping up his back. These shoes are instruments of torture, Aaron complained, wobbling on 3-inch heels. Beauty is pain, Emily quipped, fastening a pearl necklace around his neck. Now you can look. Aaron turned toward the full-length mirror and froze. The person staring back was unrecognizable. Auburn hair fell in soft waves to slender shoulders. Tasteful makeup enhanced features he'd never noticed. Cheekbones, full lips painted a subtle rose, eyes that seemed larger and more expressive. The navy dress hugged a suddenly feminine figure, ending just below the knee. That's... me? His voice came out as a whisper. Meet Meredith, Emily said, eyes gleaming with triumph. What do you think? Aaron couldn't answer immediately. There was something disconcerting about the transformation, not because it looked bad, but because it looked so natural, like unveiling a version of himself that had always existed beneath the surface. I look real. Tessa laughed. That's the idea. Let's practice your walk. Smaller steps, hips loose. The next half hour was spent learning to move in heels, sit without sprawling, and speak in a slightly higher register that still sounded natural. Aaron was surprised how quickly he adapted, finding a voice that wasn't a caricature, but a softer version of his own. Remember, Emily coached as they prepared to leave, you're Meredith Wilson, junior editor at Pearson Publishing. You live in the city and we met at a literary event 3 years ago. Aaron nodded, clutching the small purse Emily had given him. 4 hours. Not a minute more. 4 hours. Emily agreed, though her smile suggested she was enjoying this far too much. The reunion was held at an upscale hotel downtown. Aaron, now fully embodied as Meredith, felt his heart hammering as they approached the event space. A sign reading Wellington University Class of 2013 stood on an easel outside the ballroom doors. Relax, Emily whispered. You look amazing. No one will suspect a thing. Easy for you to say. You're not wearing shapewear that's cutting off circulation to your vital organs. Emily laughed, squeezing his arm. 4 hours. You can do this. They entered the ballroom, which was decorated with the university's colors and filled with clusters of people in cocktail attire. Aaron took a deep breath, straightened his posture as Tessa had taught him, and followed his sister into the crowd. "Emily Matthews!" A woman in a red dress approached, champagne flute in hand. "You haven't aged a day!" "Jennifer, so good to see you!" Emily replied, embracing the woman. "This is my friend, Meredith Wilson." Aaron extended his hand the way they'd practiced, careful to keep his wrist relaxed.
"Pleased to meet you."
Jennifer took his hand, her eyes warm and welcoming. "Any friend of Emily's is a friend of mine. How do you two know each other?" "We met at a publishing event," Aaron replied, his practiced story flowing naturally. "Emily was covering it for her magazine, and I was representing Pearson." "Meredith is being modest," Emily interjected. "She's discovered some of the biggest authors of the past few years." The conversation flowed surprisingly easily. Aaron found himself relaxing into the role of Meredith, discussing fictional authors and publishing trends with confidence. When Jennifer excused herself to greet other classmates, Emily beamed at him. "You're a natural! I knew you could do it!" Aaron smiled, a strange feeling of liberation washing over him. There was something freeing about being Meredith, a certain permission to express himself differently, to move and speak without the constraints he normally felt. "There she is," Emily hissed, suddenly, nodding toward a blonde woman in a designer dress. "Vanessa Campbell." Aaron recognized the gleam in his sister's eye. "Be nice, Em. We're adults now." "Oh, I'll be perfectly civil. Come on, Meredith. Time to meet the queen bee." Vanessa Campbell was exactly as Emily had described, polished, poised, and radiating a subtle condescension. She air-kissed Emily's cheeks before turning her evaluating gaze to Aaron. "And who's this?" she asked, voice dripping with honey. "Meredith Wilson," Emily said proudly. "The friend from publishing I told you about." Aaron offered his hand, channeling every ounce of confidence he could muster. "Lovely to meet you, Vanessa. Emily's told me so much about your college days." Vanessa's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose slightly. "All good things, I hope." "Oh, she's been very comprehensive," Aaron replied with a smile that made Emily choke on her champagne. What followed was a masterclass in subtle one-upmanship as Vanessa attempted to establish dominance through name-dropping and not-so-casual mentions of her husband's success. Aaron, however, found Meredith's voice growing stronger with each exchange, parrying Vanessa's jabs with graceful deflections that left Emily struggling to contain her glee. "Your dress is beautiful," Vanessa finally said, switching tactics. "Is it off the rack?" "Thank you," Aaron replied smoothly. "I find designer labels are often more about the name than the craftsmanship. Don't you agree?" Vanessa's smile tightened, and she excused herself shortly after, claiming she needed to find her husband. "That was magnificent," Emily whispered once Vanessa was out of earshot. "The look on her face when you shut down her designer comment, priceless." Aaron laughed, surprising himself with how light and genuine it felt. "I have no idea where that came from. It just flowed out." "It's because you're Meredith tonight," Emily said, squeezing his arm. "And Meredith doesn't take crap from anyone." The evening continued, and Aaron found himself genuinely enjoying the conversations, the dancing, even the compliments on his appearance. There was something about being seen as Meredith that felt oddly validating. People listened when he spoke, met his eyes with genuine interest, laughed at his jokes without the competitive edge he often encountered as Aaron. During a brief moment alone at the bar, a man in a charcoal suit approached. Tall, with kind eyes and a warm smile, he introduced himself as Daniel.
"I don't believe we've met," he said. "I would have remembered."
Aaron felt a flutter of panic, but maintained Meredith's composure. "I'm a friend of Emily's, not an alumna."
"Lucky Emily," Daniel replied. "What brings you to this gathering of ancient history?"
"Moral support," Aaron said, with a small laugh. "And people watching. Reunions are fascinating sociological experiments, don't you think?" Daniel's eyes crinkled with amusement. "I never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. Everyone trying to prove the last decade was kind to them." They fell into easy conversation. Daniel was a literature professor at the university, which gave Aaron the perfect opening to discuss his fictional publishing career. The conversation flowed naturally, touching on favorite authors and the changing landscape of literature.
"I should find Emily,"
Aaron said eventually, aware that his sister would be looking for him.
"It was nice meeting you, Daniel." "Before you go,"
Daniel said, producing a business card and pen. He scribbled something on the back. "My personal number. I'd love to continue our conversation sometime." Aaron accepted the card automatically, heart racing.
Thank you."
"No pressure," Daniel added with a gentle smile.
"But I'd regret not asking."
Aaron tucked the card into his purse, unsure how to process what had just happened. He found Emily near the dessert table, deep in conversation with former classmates. "There you are!" she exclaimed. "Everything okay?" "Fine," Aaron replied, voice slightly higher than intended. "Just, someone gave me their number." Emily's eyes widened. "Who?" "Daniel, literature professor." A knowing smile spread across Emily's face. "Daniel Hayes? He was 2 years ahead of us. Brilliant guy. Published a book on modern American fiction last year." "You never mentioned him before." "Because he wasn't relevant until now," Emily replied with a wink. "He has excellent taste, clearly." The remainder of the evening passed in a blur. Aaron continued playing his role, but his mind kept returning to the business card in his purse and the strange flutter he'd felt during that conversation. It wasn't just the novelty of being perceived as a woman. There had been something in that interaction that felt authentic in a way Aaron rarely experienced. When they finally left, well past the promised 4-hour limit, Aaron was surprised to find himself reluctant for the night to end. "Admit it," Emily said as they entered her apartment. "You had fun." Aaron carefully removed the pearl necklace. "It was interesting." "Interesting?" Emily scoffed. "You were amazing! The way you handled Vanessa, how easily you chatted with everyone, and Daniel Hayes gave you his number." "Which is useless considering I'm not actually Meredith," Aaron pointed out, kicking off the heels with relief. Emily's expression softened. "True, though you made a very convincing her." Later, after Tessa's careful work had been removed and the auburn wig placed on its stand, Aaron lay awake in Emily's guest room, staring at the ceiling. The navy dress hung in the closet, a reminder of the evening's strange experiment. He couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Some internal understanding had been permanently altered. Being Meredith hadn't felt like wearing a costume. It had felt like removing one. 2 weeks passed. Aaron returned to his routine. Software development job, evening runs, weekend movies with friends. Yet, something had changed. He found himself pausing in front of store windows, noticing women's clothing with new interest. He grew quiet when colleagues made certain jokes, jokes he might have laughed at before. The business card remained in his wallet, untouched, but not forgotten. On a rainy Saturday afternoon, Aaron found himself in a department store, ostensibly looking for a new jacket. Somehow, his feet carried him to the women's section. He lingered by a display of coral sundresses, fingers brushing the fabric.
"Can I help you find something for your girlfriend?"
a saleswoman asked.
"No, I'm just—"
The excuse died on his lips.
"Actually, yes. She's about my height, similar build."
20 minutes later, Aaron left with a shopping bag containing a coral sundress and a floral kimono. His heart raced as if he'd committed a crime. That evening in his apartment, door locked and curtains drawn, Aaron removed the sundress from its bag. The fabric was soft, flowing, nothing like the structured navy dress from the reunion. With trembling hands, he undressed and slipped it over his head. Without the professional makeup and wig, the image in the mirror was less convincing. A man in a dress. Yet something about it still felt right. He ran his hands down the fabric, watching it move with his body.
"Meredith,"
he whispered to his reflection. Over the following weeks, Aaron's private collection grew. A blouse here, a skirt there, gradually building a secret wardrobe hidden in the back of his closet. He ordered an auburn wig online, not as high quality as the one Tessa had used, but good enough for his private explorations. In the sanctuary of his apartment, Aaron, or rather Meredith, would spend evenings reading, cooking, watching TV. Ordinary activities transformed by the simple change of clothing and presentation. No one knew, of course. At work and in public, he remained Aaron, but the dichotomy was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. Each morning, returning to masculine clothing felt like donning a costume, one that fit less comfortably with each passing day. 3 months after the reunion, Aaron called his sister.
"Can you come over? I need to talk to you about something."
Emily arrived an hour later, concern evident on her face. "Is everything okay? You sounded strange on the phone." Aaron paced the living room.
"I need to tell you something, and I'm not sure how."
"You're scaring me. Are you sick?"
"No, nothing like that."
He took a deep breath.
"Remember your reunion, when I went as Meredith?"
Emily nodded slowly.
"Of course. You were amazing. It did something to me. Awakened something."
The words felt inadequate.
"Since then, I've been exploring."
Understanding dawned in Emily's eyes.
"Exploring as Meredith?"
Aaron nodded, throat tight. "At first I thought it was just curiosity, or the thrill of doing something different. But it's more than that. When I'm Meredith, I feel right. Like I'm finally being honest." Tears welled in Emily's eyes, but they weren't sad tears. "Oh, honey, I think I understand."
"I don't know what this means yet,"
Aaron continued. "I'm still figuring it out. But I needed to tell someone, and you're the only one who's seen that side of me." Emily crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him. "Thank you for trusting me. Whatever you need, whether it's advice, support, or just someone to talk to, I'm here." Aaron broke down then, tears flowing freely.
"I'm scared, Em. This changes everything."
"It doesn't change who you are inside," she said firmly. "It just means the outside might need some adjusting to match." That night, Aaron showed Emily his small collection of clothes, the wig, the makeup he'd been practicing with. Instead of judgment, he found only acceptance and practical advice. "If you're serious about exploring this further," Emily said, We should get you some proper clothes, and maybe talk to someone who specializes in gender identity. The following weeks brought rapid change. With Emily's support, Erin began seeing a therapist who specialized in gender issues. The conversations were challenging, but illuminating, helping to unravel the complex feelings he'd suppressed for years without realizing it. I think I've always known something wasn't aligned, he told Dr. Winters during their third session. But I didn't have the language for it, or maybe I was afraid to look too closely. That's very common, the therapist replied. Our society makes it difficult to question gender, especially for those assigned male at birth. There's so much pressure to conform. Gradually, Erin began living as Meredith more openly, first with Emily, then with a small circle of trusted friends. The auburn wig became a constant companion, though he had started growing out his natural hair, which was the same beautiful auburn color. 6 months after the reunion, Meredith sat in Emily's living room, wearing a green wrap dress that complemented her auburn hair. Her voice had softened through practice, her movements grown more natural. Hormone therapy had begun to create subtle changes, softer skin, the beginning of breast development. I found something, Emily said, entering with a familiar business card. Remember this? Meredith took Daniel's card, the number still clear on the back. I can't believe you kept this. I thought you might want it someday. Emily sat beside her. And I think that day might be now. He was interested in Meredith from the reunion. A fiction. No, Emily corrected gently. He was interested in you. The person he connected with that night was real, even if some of the details weren't. Meredith turned the card over in her hands. What would I even say? Remember me from your reunion? Surprise! I was actually exploring my gender identity. You could just say you'd like to meet for coffee, Emily suggested. Start fresh. If there's a connection, the rest can come later. The prospect was terrifying, yet tempting. Daniel had been genuine, intelligent, kind, qualities that transcended gender. I'll think about it, Meredith promised. 2 days later, heart pounding, she made the call. Daniel Hayes speaking. Hello, this is Meredith, she said, her carefully practiced voice steady despite her nerves. We met at the Wellington University reunion a few months ago. I was there with Emily Matthews. A pause, then warmth flooded his voice. Meredith, I was beginning to think you'd thrown my card away. No, just gathering my courage. They arranged to meet at a cafe the following weekend. Meredith spent the intervening days in a state of anxious anticipation, trying on different outfits and rehearsing conversations with Emily. Should I tell him immediately? She asked, smoothing the cream blouse she'd selected for the date. I think you should see how the connection feels first, Emily advised. If it's there, you'll know when the moment is right. The cafe was busy when Meredith arrived, wearing a coral A-line skirt with her cream blouse and low heels. Her auburn hair was styled in loose waves, and subtle makeup enhanced her increasingly feminine features. 6 months of hormone therapy had softened her face and body, though the changes were still evolving. Daniel was already seated by the window, looking much as he had at the reunion, thoughtful eyes, gentle smile. He stood when he saw her, and something in his expression, appreciation without objectification, calmed her racing heart.
It's good to see you again,
he said, as she took the seat across from him. You too, she replied, hands clasped tightly in her lap. I'm sorry it took so long to call. Worth the wait, he assured her. How have you been? The conversation flowed naturally, much as it had at the reunion. They discussed books, films, current events. Daniel spoke about his classes and research. Meredith carefully edited her responses to avoid outright lies while still maintaining her privacy.
You seem different somehow,
Daniel observed during a lull.
More, I don't know, present? Comfortable?
Meredith felt heat rise to her cheeks. I've been going through some changes since we last met. Good ones.
It suits you,
he said simply. They lingered for hours, coffee growing cold as they talked. When the cafe began to close, Daniel walked her to her car.
I'd very much like to see you again,
he said, standing close but respectful. Meredith knew the moment had come. I'd like that too, but there's something you should know first. She took a deep breath, gathering courage. The night we met at the reunion was special for me, but not just because I met you. It was the first time I'd ever presented as a woman in public. Daniel's expression remained open, curious rather than judgmental. My birth name is Aaron, she continued. Emily's brother. The reunion was supposed to be a one-time thing, a favor for my sister. But it unlocked something I'd been suppressing for years. Her voice trembled slightly. Everything else, our conversation, the connection, that was all real, but I'm still in transition, still becoming who I really am. Silence stretched between them. Meredith prepared herself for rejection, for disgust, for the polite but firm end of whatever had been building. Instead, Daniel reached for her hand, his touch gentle.
Thank you for trusting me with that.
You're not
upset?
Why would I be? The person I connected with that night, the person I've spent the afternoon with, that's you, Meredith. He squeezed her hand.
The journey that brought you here is yours, but I'd be honored to walk alongside you for whatever comes next, if you'll let me.
Tears welled in Meredith's eyes. I didn't expect this.
Life rarely gives us what we expect,
Daniel replied with a smile.
Sometimes it gives us what we need instead.
Their first kiss was brief, sweet, a promise rather than a demand. When they parted, Meredith felt a profound sense of rightness, of pieces falling into place. I still want to take things slowly, she said. This is all very new for me.
We have time,
Daniel assured her. All the time we need. 1 year later, Meredith stood before the mirror in her new apartment, hardly recognizing the reflection. Her auburn hair now reached past her shoulders, framing a face softened by continued hormone therapy. The cream dress she wore for her anniversary dinner with Daniel complemented her figure, which had gradually transformed into gentle curves. Emily entered the bedroom, carrying a small jewelry box. Something borrowed, she said, opening it to reveal their mother's pearl earrings. They're perfect, Meredith replied, fastening them carefully. How do I look? Beautiful, Emily said, eyes shining with pride. Absolutely yourself. The journey hadn't been easy. There had been difficult conversations with parents, co-workers, friends. Some relationships had been lost, but many had grown stronger. Meredith had changed jobs, finding a company where she could be open about her identity from the start. She had legally changed her name and gender marker, stepping fully into the life that had begun with a reluctant favor. Daniel had remained constant through it all, patient during the difficult days, celebratory during the triumphs. Their relationship had deepened gradually, built on mutual respect and genuine connection. Nervous? Emily asked, adjusting a strand of Meredith's auburn hair. A little, she admitted. It's a big night. The restaurant Daniel had chosen was elegant without being intimidating. He waited at a corner table, standing as Meredith approached, his eyes lit with appreciation as he took in her appearance.
"You take my breath away,"
he said softly, kissing her cheek. Dinner was perfect. Intimate conversation, excellent food, the comfortable rhythm they'd established over months together. When dessert arrived, Daniel reached across the table for her hand.
"This past year has been extraordinary," he said. "Watching you become more fully yourself, getting to know the remarkable woman you are. It's been a privilege."
Meredith squeezed his hand. "You've made it easier. Safer."
"I have something for you,"
Daniel continued, producing a small velvet box. "Not a ring. Not yet. I know we're not there, but a promise." Inside the box was a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a key. "It's beautiful," Meredith whispered.
"It's symbolic,"
Daniel explained. "Keys open doors, but they also represent home. You've opened so many doors this year, for yourself and for me. I wanted to mark that journey." As he fastened the necklace around her neck, Meredith reflected on the extraordinary path that had led to this moment. From a reluctant favor to her sister to a profound journey of self-discovery. From Aaron hiding behind a mask to Meredith living authentically. The navy sheath dress from the reunion still hung in her closet, a reminder of the night everything changed. Beside it now hung dozens of other garments, each representing another step in her evolution. The coral sundress that had been her first personal purchase. The green wrap dress she'd worn when she told her parents. The cream blouse from her first date with Daniel. And now, this cream dress, marking a year of living as her true self.
"What are you thinking about?"
Daniel asked, noticing her contemplative expression. Meredith touched the key pendant resting against her collarbone. "I'm thinking about how sometimes the most unexpected doorways lead us exactly where we need to go." Outside the restaurant, the city hummed with life. Meredith walked hand in hand with Daniel, no longer afraid of being seen, of being known. The auburn-haired woman reflected in each passing window was no disguise, no temporary character created for someone else's benefit. She was, at last, simply herself.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!